What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 113th episode, Collecting Profit. Little different show this week and next week. We're actually with preseason baseball and going pretty good. We're going to talk about the American League with National League teams. We're going to look at the moves that they've made, subtractions, the additions, see what their starting lineups might look like right now, and talk about each team and give our opinions of what we think. I got two of my buddies with me. I got Big John. Big John, how you doing, buddy?
How we doing?
Good. Dom, how you doing, pal?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. First and foremost, happy birthday to Big John.
What's up, Don? What kind of socks we got?
I got some mountain running socks on. I got some Merrells on.
Oh, nice. Here we got Jason, CCB in the house. Ani, how you doing? Larkin, how are you? Alan, how are you doing? Does John have a YouTube name? No, John does really more IG stuff for the most part. Right, John? Safe to say? And you do a Tuesday show with Rolling with FD. And John.
Yes. You guys can catch me Tuesdays with FD on Rolling with FD. Then my YouTube channel is I'll put it in the chat because it's not the same.
Alan, how are you?
Just my name.
We got Ani. Yeah, Ani, how you doing, buddy? We got Card Deal. We got Alan. We got Pierce to be everybody. Yeah, don't worry about that. So let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to start out west, and we're going to start with the Los Angeles Angels. When I was looking at this, I was actually surprised by how many players they added. Now, not saying they added superstars, but I was surprised at the players, that they added. Again, they added Kikuchi, Soler, Jansen. I mean, right there, that's good. So you basically added I mean, the crazy thing is on that team, Kikuchi is their number one. Soler's going to be their DH. Jansen's going to be their closer. The other ads they have are okay. I mean, they had to add Moncada because, well, we have Tony Two Bags Rendon, who, I mean, again, another another high-priced free agent or another big contract that doesn't work out for the Angels. I mean, it's a little bit on the crazy side. Their offense will be good. I don't disagree with you there. I think the big news out of there is Trout moving to right field. He is going to play right field. He has given up center field. He's going to do that. He's going to DH and stuff like that. So, what do you guys think, John?
I mean, it's the Angels, so everything revolves around if Trout can stay healthy first and foremost. But Nito's a good leadoff man, good shortstop. Ohapi was a good catcher last year, his rookie year, and then if Odell can live up to the hype he once had, give me a solid. They gonna need to make a move probably for playoff contention, but solid moves.
Dom?
All right. So definitely solid moves because they had to spend some money, right? The owners got more money than he's willing to admit, obviously, because they were going to offer Ohtani what he was going to, the offer that he got with the Dodgers. I got to be honest with you, a lot of guys on here past their prime, not necessarily Trout, right? I'm a big Travis d'Arnaud fan, obviously, from his time coming up at the Knicks Huddle, with the Knicks, with the Mets. But you look at it, Yohan Moncada, J.D. Davis, Soler. These are guys that are a little bit older. They got a dude who's getting up there in Jansen, who could still make some noise, but he this is an older team. There's a lot of good kids here.
Yes.
But this is my pick to finish last in the AL West.
I can't disagree with you, but I mean, look, you got Chanel at first, you got Nito, or Neto, however you say that, 2, and Ohape. That's 3, good young players. Ward, decent. To your point, Big John, Joe Adele. He's got to do something. To warrant. Now they had another guy, another young outfielder. I don't know what happened to him. I think it was maybe like Jordan Adams or something like that, or Jordy Adams. I'm not 100% sure what happened with him, but to me, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Kikuchi, Tyler Anderson, Jose Soriano, Kyle Hendricks, and Jack was a rookie. And then you look at that bullpen. Ben Joyce is probably, he's a potential future closer. He's probably their 8th inning guy. Jansen, their 9th inning guy. Ben Joyce can bring the ball, man. But I just don't know if that bullpen is going to hold up with that starting staff.
Are they not bringing Caden Dana back in the 40-man this year?
Probably, but I think he's injured right now.
Okay.
But again, the thing that you have with him is just another young guy. Right? That's all I'm saying. I mean, I look, this team's, they have enough offense that if their pitching is decent, they could have a good season. Now, does a good season mean they're going to win the West? No. Does a good season mean they're going to make the wild card? No. A good season, probably, I hate to say it, it's probably maybe winning, 75 games?
Breaking 500 will be good for them, right?
Yeah, it'd be good for them. Yeah. But I think they only have 2 players in the top 100 prospects.
Right.
So I don't understand why if they're bad going to the trade deadline, getting the haul for Trout and just moving them to somewhere and just getting a bunch of prospects.
I agree. I think they're at that point where
you're at that point.
That conversation needs to happen with Mike and say, hey, look, if you could pick where you wanted to go other than here, where would you want to go? And let's see if we could go ahead and get you there. And sorry, you're not going to the Dodgers.
Exactly. I mean, I do like they got Kyle Hendricks though for pitching. He's old, reliable.
Oh, he is. He's going to go out there. He's going to give you 6 innings, and he's going to keep you somewhat in the game. He's going to do just enough and everything.
Yeah.
From that standpoint. But I think that's a discussion that, to your point, when they're getting into the middle of July and they see where they are, I mean, I hate to see him go to Philadelphia, but he's from that kind of area, and Philly going ahead and saying, hey, we're interested. What would you like to go ahead and do? I'm not 100% sure and everything,
Imagine that. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Trout, first 4 in the lineup.
Yeah.
Whew.
Trout needs to be healthy though too. Let's not forget that. I'm not knocking the dude. He's Hall of Famer now, right, with his numbers, but he's got to be healthy. I know he's got 6 years, 8 years left on the contract. He's got to be healthy though.
Oh yeah, and that's a big contract to go ahead and take on. It's not like, you're talking about, like to your point, Dom, a guy who has a year or 2 left. He has plenty of years on that contract. And if somebody's going to come knocking on the door for him, then, they're going to have to pay. A lot of people don't realize how good, I mean, not batting average wise, but he had like 10 home runs in 30 games.
Mhm.
He was really off to a really good start last year. So it'll be interesting. Interesting team. They are either, in my opinion, they're either, they're either 4 or 5. And I think the team they're going to battle for number 5 is not the Houston Astros, although this team is going to be another interesting one. They lost some good stuff. They lost Tucker. They lost Bregman. Forget Kikuchi. They did lose Verlander. And they lost Presley. They added, Walker and Paradis is probably the 2 big ads. Wisniewski is a good one. Gammo, he's one of those. He's your 4th outfielder guy. He's going to fit in, from that standpoint. Christian Walker in that ballpark, I think he'll put up better numbers than he did in Arizona. The other big news coming out of Houston is Jose Altuve moving from second base to left field.
That's
Wow.
Yes. So what do you guys think?
That is shocking. Dubon is a solid kid, but he's a super utility guy. I don't know that that's your everyday second baseman.
I think Rogers would be the ideal everyday second baseman.
They did. They signed him to a minor league deal, but I think you're going to see that.
My thing with this inning, Paradis is a good, solid infielder and a good hitter. Walker has that potential for bombs, but Altuve in left, and with his arm, you know how a lot of teams running second to home on singles.
With Altuve's arm?
Yeah, I would run on Altuve from left field.
I definitely would.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, you talk about you hate to say that you have to learn how to throw the ball, but when you think about it, he does have to learn how to make that long throw, right?
Yeah.
He's used to making little snap throws.
You're talking about not 90 feet across. You're talking about doing 130, 140 feet on a line.
Yeah, he's not. He's a little older, and he was small, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's a very interesting move. I don't really understand it, but when you look at what they got, I mean, they're starting pitching, good. I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't call it great. It's good. They have a really good closer. Paradis, Pena. The thing that gets me is Myers and McCormick. I just don't know what kind of production you're going to get out of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like neither one of them has been oh my gosh, this guy, you have to, you're going to fear them. So
there's also another team that has exhausted the really good prospects they have. They don't have them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. They gave they gave a couple over to us. We are very happy about that.
Yeah, we are.
and
we
Mr.
won
Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Clifford.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jake Myers. Here's the thing about Jake Myers. When you look at his numbers, 13 home runs, you figure, okay, hey, he's a center fielder. He's not a home run guy. He's a stolen base guy. Nope, he only had 11 stolen bases last year.
Mm-hmm.
You look at McCormick. Oh, McCormick. 5 home runs. Now, he only played 94 games, so he's got to be quick. And he's a this guy. Nope. 8 stolen bases. So you're replacing Kyle Tucker, Chas McCormick.
We appreciate Tucker.
Now, I guess you could say, yeah, but they got Paradis back and so on and so forth. But who knows? It'll be interesting, from that standpoint. But I don't know. I don't really see. I don't see the youth will be fine on the Stros. What youth? Where's their youth? Pena's their only young guy.
Dubon's still young.
Well, true. I get what you're saying there, right? You're gonna have some of these guys doing full-time work, so we'll see what happens. I don't disagree with you. Do not disagree. Do not disagree.
Jordan's not an old man either, right? He's a vet now, right? Because we're used to him being on cards for how long, but
very true.
Pedro Leon, that's a highly hyped prospect. Out, I don't know how long he's hurt for, he's somebody that they're going to rely on when healthy, and they got a guy. Hey,
they're gonna be okay. But I mean, Cam Smith is probably the big name. That's probably they're looking for. That'll probably be there. Someday. Some of these other guys. We'll see what happens. I'm not 100% sure. Then we have the Athletics, who they're not calling them anything but the Athletics.
Where are they playing this year?
They are they are playing in, I guess, closer to Sacramento.
Yeah, they're in Sacramento. They're in a minor league stadium. I think it's
So the interesting thing there, Sacramento gets warm during the summer.
120.
So we know it's not a dome stadium. So from a fantasy standpoint, if you're in any if you're a fantasy guy, when you're looking at Soderstrom, Brent Rooker, Langoliers, when the weather gets warm out there, those balls start flying. These guys are going to put up, I think, some offensive numbers. Now, that means all the other teams going there are going to also. So I don't know what happens with their, with their pitching staff. Small ballpark, I like this. I agree. Jacob Wilson is. I can see him going ahead and being Rookie of the Year. Yeah, if they don't wilt in the heat, now that's going to be a big thing. And true, and the teams visiting are going to deal with it, but they really didn't do. Their big signing was Luis Severino. He got a massive contract to go there. It's 3 years. It's going to be interesting because supposedly I think they are in Sacramento for 3 years. They don't think they're going to be able to move for 3 years. So we'll see what happens. They added Leclerc from Texas to help them with the bullpen. Mason Miller, solid closer. They had, this is a good young team. Zach Geloff is good. Wilson's good. Bleday is good. Butler, Rooker. So they have the pieces. If they get pitching, they could be up there. They could battle. It's
just amazing how they get away with not spending money and still can feel a good team. Like they are a true ace away from being a real playoff contender with all that young talent they have.
Yeah, Butler too. Well, they have they have a nice young team that's going to be there. They're playing it again. They're playing in a ballpark where the air is going to get nice and light as it gets, and balls are going to be flying off of bats, especially in that small stadium. There's not going to be much to go ahead and keep them in there. From that standpoint, I mean, from a prospect perspective, I mean, they got not a whole lot, but they got some. But what do you think overall, Dom?
So this would be my sleeper pick. I guess get more into because I think there's more room for sleepers, or it's more competitive over in the Central. But this is not the same old A's anymore. They've finally stockpiled a lot of good youth. I was kind of they would hang on to Joe Boyle. They traded him away to Tampa Bay. He looked really good when he was pitching up until the Mets lit him up when they came out east here. So we had one really bad game, but the Severino signing, I know it. We know why they did it. It was to spend money to not have the complaint filed against them. Extending Rooker was a really good deal. There's a lot of good talent on here. They need to deliver. I will say this: I don't hear it said enough, and I will never try to sink your channel. I think it's a fucking joke what they're doing in Sacramento. They could have stayed in Oakland.
Yep.
Right. I know the city wanted a lot of money, but MLB should be embarrassed that this happened, and they let this happen. That they're letting them go to play in a minor league season. I understand in the 2020 season, right, that Toronto couldn't cross the border, right? There were the restrictions there with the C-19,
right.
And they played in Buffalo, and Tampa. It's not their fault that stadium got destroyed, or at least the roof did, right? I think the repairs, will be ready, I guess, at the end of the season, but I cannot believe what this chump that owns this team has been allowed to get away with, right? He doesn't have money, but he's lining the pockets of politicians out in Vegas, and it's proven, right? Like, from a courtesy thing, there's traceability on this, right? And then they put this dude in like the executive committee too for the owners, which is ridiculous. This dude doesn't deserve to be an owner. He doesn't deserve to own this team. They should be playing at Rickey Henderson Stadium. I'm sorry. They should not be playing where it gets up to 120. I was there in a summer, and it gets brutal. I was there for like most of June, and it was a long time ago. It was 2008 for a job, but I just like I don't. Obviously, Sevy wasn't going to get that offer from anybody else.
Correct.
Glad he turned it around with the Mets. Was a solid dude. Definitely helped us, get as far as they got in the postseason. But man, you show up to work, and the idea of being promoted is that you go to a bigger stadium, whether they drew fans or not. They had a couple of games this year where they were almost sold out. They had the protest game and stuff, but you go from the minor leagues to a minor league stadium. Once you hit the big, that's gotta suck.
Yeah. What gets me is, I understand you're saying that, like, hey, they won't make changes, so we want to move. You can't tell me that the place in Sacramento, that all the facilities are better heads and tails above, what they had in Oakland. I'm not saying that I'm just saying like it just wouldn't make sense that the minor league baseball place would have that much better facilities than what they needed. If the idea was you thought, hey, no one is coming to see us, well, what's better? An empty stadium and and not filling seats, or charging less money and fill seats? Put butts in seats. Maybe it brings some excitement and your team starts to feel the energy and they start to play better.
This is a competitive team that they're putting out there. It's a young team, but it's a competitive team, right? Look at, President Loken, made a good point. Every team, is given enough money in revenue sharing.
Yep.
Right? I'll go off of what Loken's saying, because I don't know what they're getting. But if everybody's getting $100 million, or, plus they are, they're getting, they have their money. They had to play where they're playing to keep getting TV money, right? So they're getting something. They're not getting the 300, saw some ridiculous number that the Dodgers are getting like $337 million a year from their TV rights, which is insane. No wonder why their payroll is $400 million, right?
Yeah.
A's aren't getting that, but I keep saying this. I've said this in Arnie's chats. I don't hang out in a lot of channels. I said this in Arnie's chats. I said this in the Junkies podcast. Like, if you're, when I've been arguing with clowns at work on MSN, right, on the different articles and stuff. If you can't be competitive, sell the team, because somebody has the money to do it, and they would have kept the team. They would have kept the traditional, right? Oakland, has proposals to put a stadium in place. This guy just wants to go to Vegas, and it makes no sense, because you were in Oakland for how many decades upon decades.
Oh yeah.
And now you're gonna rely on who? It's not like 10,000. It's not like 20,000, 30,000 fans are gonna come over and support this team. You're gonna rely on transient people, transient fans. Like, Vegas is cool for what it is. I've been there a few times. I have no idea how I'm not banned from there. Just a moron, right? There's been a couple of times where I had some close calls. There's only so many times you can throw beer bottles at people, and I'll leave that alone, right? So they're building this $1.5 billion stadium, and the renderings look incredible. And this guy doesn't deserve a team, and I don't know how they're going to put butts in seats. They will sell out Sacramento,
sure,
but how the hell are they going to sell out Vegas when they get there? It's a joke. It really is a joke that baseball let them do this.
Well, I think so. As far as Vegas goes, well, I mean, let's face it. That you will have a lot of the travel. People who travel there will go to games and everything. I think the same. You look at the same thing, Don. I think they said the same thing about hockey, right? And you look at what hockey has done in Vegas. I think they'll do well in Vegas. But here's the thing. Here's the bottom line. Are you all of a sudden, as the owner, gonna start to spend money to bring more pitching in? If you think in your offense is where it needs to be, so are you gonna all of a sudden now go out there and try and get the big free agents to come to be there, or are you gonna have the same mentality that you have now? Like, or is his thing is this kind of like like the movie Major League? We're going to bring in we're going to go young. We're not going to pay anybody. We're going to bring in people that some people may never have heard of.
Right.
And we're going to suck so we could go ahead and figure out a way that, that we're going to suck, but we're going to ask for shit like as though we're a top team, and they say no, then we can go ahead and get out of here. So that's the that's the difference, and everything.
The pro teams are out there, right? Obviously, the Golden Knights had unprecedented success, right? They get to the Stanley Cup in their first season. I mean, that GM, I hockey as much as I used to, but man, did he do? Jason and the other guys can comment on that. But they did really. They were real strategic, man, because
they all hockey also changed the expansion team rules to allow these expansion teams. That's why you look at Seattle. Seattle's done pretty decent also. They did go ahead and change some of the rules for them. For the teams to be better, but that doesn't make a difference. You're right. You had to pick those guys. They all gelled and everything like that. So you're 100% correct.
It's not Islanders for a long time, man. When they came into the league, they hitting those 4 cups in a row that early on as a franchise, that was as successful as people as a new franchise get. I think the Panthers, when they came in to the NFL, kind of got further a little bit quicker, but they're doing something right. People could say whatever they want about Al Davis, with Brady there, not wanting to embarrass himself, right? And how the hell he doesn't become part of the Patriots, I don't understand how he didn't get brought in there, but like those owners want to be successful. This guy, it's almost like they're running a business just to be, they own a team just to get the MLB revenue, right? Which was a lot of money, all the MLB owners, once they sold the MLB ballpark app, the streaming service to Disney, each team made like $30 or $50 million just off that sale. And it didn't matter if you were in the, if you were, one of the newer teams like the Rays or Marlins, or if you were in it since the existence, like the Yanks and the Cubbies,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
all these teams are profitable before they even sell a ticket. With all these TV deals that are going around.
Yep.
Right? That's why we still had games during COVID when nobody's showing up, because they could watch it on TV.
Yeah. It's gotten a little bit
very true
with the Diamond Bally's thing. The Bally's or Diamond, whatever it is, stopped paying teams. The MLB had to pick up the streams. And MLB, if Manfred gets his way, he wants it just to be a national thing, just like the NFL. And it won't be their potential is that won't be networks like Yes and SNY.
Well, that'll be interesting when that happens. Next, Seattle Mariners, and I gotta say, if I'm a fan of this team, I'm extremely disappointed in this offseason.
Big time.
With Solano, Mastrobuoni, and Polanco. Polanco was a re-sign. To only add those 2 guys, when you look at players that were available via free agent, I just don't understand why, with this pitching staff, they would not go ahead and make any deals. They did nothing to make themselves better. Nothing.
This team's going to go how Julio Rodriguez goes, right? If he's having a good year, they got a chance to go to the playoffs and make some noise because they have the pitching.
Right.
But offensively, the key is going to be Julio and Randy Rosarina.
Right.
True, but when you had Alonso out there, when you had Christian Walker out there, but you chose Luke Raley over them, I mean, I just don't. I don't know. To me, I think this team did their fans no favors. I don't know why they were afraid to spend the money.
They're a super heavy transaction team too. You think about how many trades they've done. It's bonkers, right? This pitching staff, Huddle, we talked about it in your stream a couple of weeks ago. If it's not top 5, they're top 3, right?
Yep.
Honestly, Cy Young is the Cy Young Award's coming out of this camp, right? Now both of these guys are going to get hurt. It's either going to be Logan Gilbert or George Kirby. Luis Castillo is still no joke. I think his stats show he's on the decline, and I'm glad the Mets didn't trade out any of their youth for this guy. But Boone, Miller, Hancock coming. I follow, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but because I follow their minor league system, because one of my friends, her son is Taylor Dollard, and he got picked in the 5th round in 2020. Now he's gotten hurt and fallen off, but when 2 years ago he won AA Pitcher of the Year. Kid is no joke. He's just not healthy, right? So I've watched all these kids around him pitch, and I've watched the Harry Fords and all these other guys, come up, through the minors with him and play. So, can Julio and Rosarena carry this team? I'm not sure they can. I'm not sure the pitching staff can either.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Again, when you look at this team, when you look at stats and you look at stuff like that, again, I mean, they did nothing to go. It's just that's just crazy to me. When I look at this, I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand how you could be sitting there knowing you have this starting pitching staff, seeing players that are out as free agents or available via trade, and you do nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, I just don't understand it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Where'd they finish last year? Was it 3rd or 2nd?
I have to look that up.
I'm trying to get there now. My computer's slow as crap, though. Mm-hmm.
Second, they were 85 and 77, 3.5 games behind the Astros.
Yeah, they should have made a move.
Yeah, especially seeing what Houston lost.
Because their pitching staff, we're guessing under average ERA 4.5. Their pitching staff, just starters, somewhere under 4.
Well, when you look at last year, Gilbert 3.25, Kirby 3.5, Bryce Miller 2.9, Castillo 3.6, Brendan Wu 2.8.
Even better than I thought.
Yeah.
Right. So again,
and that's a great point.
Got to score 4 runs a game, and they should win.
Yeah. And Arnie's right. I mean, this division is not that hard to win. They have that's what makes the off season puzzling for this team. Knowing you're sitting there and you're looking at what the what the Athletics are. You're looking at what the Angels are. You're looking at what Houston lost. And you're saying, wow, okay, we could stand pat. We won 85 games last year, because that's basically what they did. They basically have the exact same team, because the top two, they re-signed Polanco, who's penciled in to be their starting third baseman. After that, the other 2 guys are subs. They're bench guys. They're 2 of your 4 or 5 bench guys. So, I don't know. Texas Rangers They made a lot of moves. They revamped their bullpen with Martin, Webb, Milner, Jackson, Garcia. They did a lot there. Bringing back Evoli. They add Peterson. They do trade, but probably their big. They did again. They lost some bullpen. Probably their biggest loss. You could. If you want to talk about it, is Nathaniel Lowe, who who got traded. So they bring in Berger. But it's another young team. I think you are looking at, Berger in that stadium should go ahead and do well. Those guys are. I have, Verdugo, Iglesias. He could go there. I don't know if JD would, because if JD goes there, he'd be a part-timer with Jock Peterson. I'm not sure they'd want to do that. Merrifield could help them out a little bit. Verdugo, I don't know if they need an outfielder. With Langford, Carter, and Garcia, not a bad outfield. They do need a healthy Carter, for sure. They need a healthy Langford. And let's face it, they need a healthy Jacob deGrom. Because if Jacob deGrom is healthy, it changes that pitching staff a lot. And you're looking at, they still have Leiter and Rocker, Kumar Rocker sitting there as potential. I'm not super high on either one of those guys yet, because I think they're still a little bit away. They're still only 24 years old and stuff, around that point. But they are two guys, from that standpoint. Yeah, those, Quintana, Corbin, Lynn. But there's a reason why those guys aren't signed. Nothing bad about it, but it's just like, none of them are, none of them are none of them are stars. Corbin's going to be tough. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson. Those guys. The good thing about those guys, you could plug them in as number 4, number 5, and they're going to chew up innings for you. Lance Lynn, Patrick Corbin, and Kyle Gibson. Those guys chew. But another young team. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this your division winner?
They should be the division winner. They got good pitching. The bats are good with Langford, Carter, Garcia, Berger. So they're the Seager as well. And Seager's always around the MVP conversation.
Yep.
See, man, so they should be the odds-on favorites to win the division.
Yeah, they should. It'll be, 78 wins last year. They should definitely do that. Again, I do think a lot depends on deGrom. If deGrom is healthy all year long, it's going to be interesting to see what he could do. Garcia bounces. That's true. Garcia is another one. He, if he has a bounce back year, that's what I'm saying. And don't forget Young wasn't there. Josh Young, he was hurt part of last year too. So, going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. I think you're looking at Rangers 1, Seattle 2, Houston 3, A's 4, Angels 5.
For sure. Texas has the lineup wise. You look at that lineup. That's brutal. I don't want to face that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's you got an MVP winner there. Jonah Heim, one of the top 5, top 10 catchers in the league. Carter, Langford, Berger is trying to prove something, right? Because this guy's been kicking around a little bit, and got all stars in Simeon and and Peterson. He might be past his prime, but Dallas Garcia is no joke, right? The team that 74 wins last year, but they lost. I think if I swear it feels like they lost their entire starting pitching staff to injury.
Well, they did. They were in and out with injuries and everything. That's why I think this team and they really attacked the bullpen this year. When you think about it, bringing in Martin, Webb, Milner, Jackson, Garcia. I mean, Armstrong. They really went. They really went heavy bullpen. They did what they had to do. John Gray, nothing about. I mean, their back end, Corey Bradford, Tyler Mahle. So I mean, you don't know back end of the bullpen, but if those guys falter, and you're looking at a Kumar Rocker, you're looking at a Jack Leiter. Again, I know they may not have done great in their little call up, but at the end of the year, I mean, Langford, I don't think was playing. Carter was hardly playing. Garcia, I mean, young. So I think it's tough to see, but this lineup is going to be good. There's a lot of offense in the West.
Rocker, look at way too. So Rocker pitched, I think, a total of 3 innings.
Right.
He was just coming back.
Yep.
That a Leiter. I followed him a bit. Big fan of series and stuff. He'd play a little bit in college, so I'm rooting for him. I'm sure you'll see when this next back from SGC. There's a handful of of jack cards in there, and there were left. Started to figure it out towards the end. He might still be a little bit raw, but that's 2 top 5 picks. 2 in light and in Rock. Rocker should have been a Met. They were realistic. They were right to pass on him. Because 2 years after the Mets draft him, he finally pitches at the end of the season, and it literally was, I think, 3 innings.
Yeah.
So this team could be scary. A couple of guys in the chat said it. A healthy DeGrom, I want this dude to succeed. I wish he was a Met, but they made the right call not giving him that giant-ass contract because he's pitched, 5 games total? So don't forget this guy, he was converted from a shortstop to a pitcher. He doesn't have the normal wear and tear on his elbow, but he's also on his second major surgery on his throwing arm. So him help. I'm saying that as a biased Mets fan, he is scary. And that staff with that lineup, I don't think anybody can hang with him in the West.
Well, here's the thing, Don. When you look at DeGrom, when we're talking about health, right? You take away the 2020 season, 15 games in 21, 11 games in 22, 6 games in 23, 3 games in 24. That's 35 games the last 4 years. So, I mean, doesn't have the wear and tear, like you said, because of all those years of pitching, but something is up with him. So,
yeah.
But again, I agree with you. I mean, I'd like to see him do well. Unless he pitches against the Mets. That is when he pitches against the Mets, I'm the suck. But hey, that's who I am.
The other game he's actually good.
Just not pitch. That's all. I'll take it.
Yeah. So there's your American League West. Popping over. I feel we'll do Arnie's team first. The Cleveland Guardians. When you look at their additions, Hedges, they bring back Bieber. They go get Santana. They get Sewell. Means is not a big deal. He's Tommy John, so nothing there. Luis Ortiz, Junis Ciccone was in the trade. They lose Boyd and Cobb. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Jimenez surprises me, but I don't know much about the guy they have who's going to replace him. And you went from Josh Naylor. I wonder, and Arnie, you would have to go ahead and let us. You probably follow them more. Did they not like Naylor? Was he going to want too much money? Was there something about him that you go away from a young guy and you bring in an older guy?
That's interesting. But I still think it's a really good team. They're probably going to win the Central. Manjaro, Quan, the offense will be fine. Class A is probably top 5 closer in the league.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. 3. I still don't get the Jimenez thing, but the kid is a yo-yo. He's my second favorite player. There is a bias there. Hands down, he's going to win platinum. A healthy Jimenez is going to win a platinum, glove award because of his deep. He every other year he does good and then hits like shit. Then 2003 did phenomenal. Helped carry them in the playoffs. And then I think he was close to the Mendoza line in 2024. So I just, they trade him for Spencer Horwitz, who doesn't even camp with Cleveland. It gets traded, I believe, to Tampa Bay and has a broken hand.
Yeah,
for a couple of months. So that's interesting. Yeah, Arnie, he is. Jimenez. I'm still upset that he was part of the Lindor trade. He shouldn't have been, because the Mets traded him and Rosario at the time without having a backup for Lindor, who obviously did not have the best 2020, but was earning his money last year. Can't take anything away from a dude.
I mean, their starting pitching is decent. Bullpen, got a good bullpen.
Keep in mind this pitching staff, though, right? So Bieber's not coming back till what, May? Means isn't coming back. I'm not sure when he's coming back, right? So Bieber's still recovering. He's capable of winning a Cy Young. We know that collectively. But
I think with Means is, I believe, if he comes back, I definitely he might be a after the All-Star break or late, because I think he had surgery on his elbow early in the season last year. So from that standpoint, Brito is going to be an interesting one. Rookie, 23 years old. He's good. He's the guy you're looking at right now. They do have the best, yeah. So I mean, they do have their bullpen very, very well. They do well. I think, good shot. Again, I don't. To Arnie's point, I think when you look at what they lost, I don't think they've gone ahead. They didn't. They lost, but I don't think they fell off a cliff with the guys that they got to replace them.
This has been a very steadily quiet team for the past 5 years. No major splashes, right? And they're hanging around, right? They won the division last year, so
yep.
They don't need to be. They're doing it. They're doing it with fundamentals and stuff, right? They're there's not a lot of spotlight on them. It's not the Indians of the the Bashers of the 90s and stuff that was making the playoffs, but
they had the second most wins in the American League last year,
which is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah. Yep.
I think they're a team that's prime. I think the only competition is going to be Detroit in that division.
I don't know. Kansas City is potential.
I forgot Kansas City's in there.
Speaking of Kansas City, I'd say their big ad was Jonathan India.
Yeah. That's a good ad.
They did lose Brady Singer to get him. But again, they didn't, they really didn't, they didn't add any starters per se. But Reagans, Lugo, Michael Wachter, he's just, I don't know. He's just one of those guys that just, I don't know. He gives you innings, he throws, it keeps you in ball games.
Lugo's second in Cy Young voting last year.
Yeah.
Our game, like no joke. This is, and we're just talking about their pitching staff, right? Which is probably top 5 in baseball. The numbers from last year don't lie.
Right. Yeah, I mean, bullpen's not bad. From that standpoint, you got the ageless wonder. I mean, how Sal Perez is still getting down behind that dish is incredible. Pasquantino, good young guy there. India, it's kind of a rebirth for him, right? Because he was starting.
Yeah.
Then he wasn't starting when they got a bunch of other guys. He's platooning, so now he's going to be the starter. Kind of same type of thing that you were saying, before. Matty Ice, what's happening, buddy? Hope you and your daughter enjoyed the game. So not looking over his shoulder, something like that. Garcia at third. I think he's a little underrated. I think he's one of those guys that's a little, he's like an under the radar type guy. Does well. I mean, what are you going to say? You got Bobby Witt Jr. I mean,
right.
You're probably looking at a guy who's getting ready to become a perennial, all-star and, MVP, type guy.
Top 5 position player easily.
Yeah.
If not 2, right? Top 2.
MJ is the key. What he does is very, very important. And I don't know. I mean, what you get from Isabel, Renfro, Michael Massey, I don't know if he's necessarily your, prototypical, DH and stuff like that. But, we'll see. Again, are they going to be willing to make some moves if they have to? That's the other, other piece of this. Will they look to make some moves if they have to? No, I'm not saying Massey is not good. Massey is a good baseball player. I think he'll be another guy, all of a sudden, like he played 100 games last year, 150 the year before that. Now all of a sudden you get a guy who has a clear direction, going to be given the playing time. I think that's what some of these teams that are going with some of the young guys, that's one of the good things, right? They're going to let these guys play. And it could really help them in the long run. DH will be Salvi or Vinny most days. Okay. You should know. Fermin, who's Fermin? Oh, the Fermin's the other catcher. Yeah. I could see that. But we'll see. Reagan's really good. And this is a very interesting team. Another one, in the West, and they're in the Central. Last year, they were 10 games over 500. They were 86 and 76. I don't think they did anything in reality to hurt themselves. I don't think they really lost anything that makes you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe they lost that guy. Same token, not like they went, oh my gosh, and brought in a big bat or anything or a big pitcher. So I think when you look at what you have there, I think you are looking at a team that should be able to do the exact same thing and challenge with Cleveland for the top. He could. He's a decent player.
Gentry too. I've been following him because of Crafty.
Oh yeah.
It made some noise when he came up. So.
Yep.
See what happens there.
Big John, your overall thoughts on the Royals?
The Royals should be second, right? I love Bobby Witt, love Melendez. I'm worried about their pitching. Outside of Lugo and Walker, I'm not familiar with Reagan's. So that back half is what I would worry about. That's probably a team that should pick up a Lance Lynn to eat some innings up.
Raggins is good. Is he a number one? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is a good pitcher. We'll see what happens. I mean, when again, a guy really first time, he really came into becoming a full-time starter last year. Started 32 games last year, so that's good. His winning percentage and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, but the dude strikes the shit out of players. Struck out 225 last year.
Ooh.
Yeah. In 186 innings.
Yeah, that's good.
I think, I think he's one of those. Yeah. I think he's one of those guys where he's, he's a middle of the country baseball player, which I think is one of those ones where people don't pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
To some of these guys. I bet you people don't realize Lugo was as good as Lugo was last year.
Yeah, and Cy Young.
And if you think about Lugo and Reagan's, and that's probably as good a 1-2 in the American League Central as there is. I mean, it might be. It's probably the best 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they drafted Cags. They drafted the kid out of Florida too, who could move up through the system quick. So they're going to be good. They are really going to be good and everything.
Yeah, I don't think we see Cags this year. I'd be surprised if we do.
I think you have a good shot at seeing him next year.
Yeah, unless there's an injury. So unless,
yeah, I mean, yeah. And they also, don't forget, they have Blake Mitchell too. That's true. They did get Wright from the baseball team from Georgia. Mm-hmm. That's true. And they have Blake Mitchell for catcher. That's another young guy they have who go ahead and get there. They only have the Detroit Tigers.
The most interesting team. I love their pitching staff.
Yes. They do. Their 5 is good. Not sure about their bullpen. I think Foley's all right. But here's the thing that gets me.
Mm-hmm.
How much have you soured on Torkelson that you signed Gleyber Torres and moved Colt Keith to first base?
Yeah. He had a bad year last year. He had a below average year yesterday with Torkelson.
But what I'm saying is, how much have you soured on the overall number 1 pick? And that after only a couple of years.
I mean, but the good thing about that is they're soured on him. If they need a piece, he's the first thing to move, and somebody else would be salivating for him.
Well, there was talk that the Mets were going to look at him if Alonso signed elsewhere.
Yeah, that was some pretty big noise up here. So,
from that standpoint, no, Arnie. Right now, they're looking at Kelly Carpenter as the DH. I just don't get it. Not that Gleyber Torres is trash, but I mean, like I was saying, you signed him. But Colt Keith was their starting second baseman last year.
Yeah.
So again, you sign Gleyber, and you go ahead, and move him there, and move Colt Keith over to put Spencer in the thing. I mean, again, they added some bullpen help. Alex Cobb, he's another one of those guys where it's like him and Gibson and Lance Lynn and those guys, right? They're like he's like one of those type of guys. You know,
This staff, the pitching staff, right, with obviously Scooble winning on point, a Flaherty who pitches like he did in the regular season last year. I'm a fan of the kid. I collect and PC and follow more pitchers than I do, I think, position players. Can hang with KC. It's just we don't know what version of Flaherty we're going to get, and I think that rings true in baseball because he wound up back in Detroit. It took him quite a while to sign, and he shined up until the playoffs where he got a little sketchy, and then he almost got beat up by Machado. But Jackson. I don't know how to say the last name.
Joe.
Right? Him. The staff's no joke. Torkelson. We'll talk about Jadon when we get to the East. Same thing. It's just, did.
Are you still there, Dom? All right, but Torkelson's 25 years old. He's the number 1 overall pick. I just don't understand. I don't understand. Again, don't get me wrong. The guy hasn't done great, right? He hit 230. He hit 219 last year, 233 the year before that, 203 his rookie year. So I get that kind of stuff, but
how many homers did he hit?
In 92 games, hit 10. The year before that, in 159 games, he was 31 and 94.
Yeah. If you need a first baseman come middle of the season, they're going to be calling Detroit for Torkelson.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, here's what I don't understand with some of these young guys. You take that guy right there.
Mm-hmm.
What benefit does he have sitting on the bench, hardly getting any playing time? How does he get better?
But it's the same thing with like Justin Henry Malloy sitting on the bench. He's another good prospect coming up. They got him from Atlanta, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand some of these moves. I don't understand. From that standpoint, you got a young guy who number 1 overall pick hasn't panned out yet. So hey, let's keep him in the major leagues though, and let's make him the backup first baseman, and let's go ahead and let him get 8 at bats a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. After he got sent down, he did better. His numbers weren't like massive, but he did a lot better in the second half. So, but this team, I think, is what, 4th place?
No, they can be 3rd place. Depending on what comes together with that pitching style, they could. I think Joe is better than Casey Mize. I'm not familiar with Olsen, so I won't say that. But I think Keith has a good year. Your holes is what? Gleyber Torres, and then whenever Javier Baez comes up the bat.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah. Listen, I can't really stand the Javi, but man, that plate discipline is not good.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, they did make the playoffs. That's true. The Indians did beat them. Reese is a strikeout and an inning guy. 100. He's pitched 216 innings, struck out 204. That's in his career. He had 22 starts last year. It wasn't like he was great or anything, but look, we'll see. I mean, the dude did get into 2 games in the playoffs. He started 1. He had his 2 ERA. So I mean, I think he has, potential and everything. Um, you know, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I thank Detroit for going ahead and offering him more money than the Mets were going to offer him. It was a blessing in disguise. You know.
Yep. No Javi Baez slander, no matter how true it is. We tolerate it. He won me a championship.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
El Mago.
Yeah, El Mago.
He sure knows how to make his plate appearance disappear. Just swinging out there, swinging at anything.
Minnesota Twins, the Twinkies. Solid team. Decent starting pitching. Good bullpen. They bring in Harrison Bader. Okay, he's your fourth outfielder. Ty France comes over from Seattle. To take over for your first base after you let Carlos Santana go. Young and in Lee and Lewis. Correa, I don't know. Byron Buxton. The guy has talent, but he can't stay on the field. Matt Wallner, Jose Miranda, Trevor Larnach. Another team that really didn't do much. You didn't add anything, from that. I mean, you didn't try and make any kind of splashes with anything. Again, what is it? Is it a money play? What's the deal with it and stuff like that? But even still, I mean, they 82 games last year. I don't know. Could they do the same thing? Did they lose too much in Kepler and Santana? Too hard to say. I don't necessarily believe they did. But from that standpoint, but again, they really didn't do much of anything. You're really hoping Lopez, Ryan, Ober, and Paddock go ahead and come back. Simeon Woods, Richardson. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully he can continue to go ahead and get a little better, each year. But again, I don't know. Overall, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure where they're going to stand, how everything is going to play out.
I don't think they did enough to be competitive.
Yeah.
You're trying to hang with, you're trying to hang with 3 teams ahead of you that made the playoffs last year, right? What this division gets to do is feast on the last team we'll talk about, right? Joe Ryan needs to be healthy. He had a good start 2023, but it needs to be healthy. I'm a big fan of Richardson. This kid's getting a little old to really try to turn it on. We're talking about a kid who was drafted.
Only 24, Dom.
That can't be right. 24?
He said he was born. I'm looking on ESPN. It says he was born in 2000.
I think they're off by a decade. This dude, this kid, right? He is American. He was born in Texas, but they got to be off because this kid was traded with Anthony Kay for Marcus Stroman. That's how far back. He was in the Mets farm system. He started to really shine last year. And he's one of my PCs from, when he was a rookie in 23. But what did they do? How are they going to compete, right? Austin Martin's not did okay for them. Royce Lewis can't stay healthy. There's some solid kids in there. Jeffers is respectable, but can they hang? Buxton can't stay healthy.
Yep.
The best players in baseball, and he can't stay healthy.
Buxton or Royce Lewis. So even if they stay healthy, this roster is not a playoff roster.
Right.
They have to be on.
Yeah, I mean, it's you look at this lineup, and man, it's or the staff, from the position players, it's Alarnick, Lee Castro, Martin, guys that Julian that should have, Jeffers that should have made way more noise than they're making. Bader is, if Bader could hit, he'd be, competing for a Gold Glove every year. He's got 2 of them, but he can't stay healthy, and he can't more. He's an exciting player to watch. He's a New York kid, so I was following him, while he was playing for the Cardinals initially. But I don't know. They're not in last because of the next team that we're going to get to.
Yeah, and I mean both Wikipedia and ESPN have Simeon as 24 years old.
That's crazy. Yeah, he must have got drafted when he was like 10.
He was drafted in 2018.
And he got traded
6 years ago, so he was drafted as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, and I think he might have been he was what, a first or second round draft pick too for them.
Second rounder.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah,
wild.
And then there is the Chicago White Sox.
Can we announce them? There's no White Sox fans in the chat, right? Can we announce them as the reigning all-time worst team in modern era?
They are the
yes, we
team
can.
with the worst record in the history of baseball. Their winning percentage was .253. 41 and 121.
They had a couple streaks where they won 7 and 8 games. So think about that.
Yeah.
These guys.
Why did they hold? I mean, I give them some credit. They made some moves. Again, nothing that's going to make you go, oh my gosh. It's going to be interesting to see the haul that they got from Boston for what's his name?
Crochet.
Hmm. Kyle Till looks good in spring training so far.
Who?
Kyle Till. That's the
the catcher.
The catcher.
Yeah, I think he was the I think he was a big piece of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody actually picked up Joey Gallo.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, so they got Teal, Montgomery, Metadorf, and Gonzalez. I don't think they got Keel was the key to it, the catcher. We'll see if he stays a catcher. I mean, we'll see from that standpoint. But, they got Bobby Dahlbeck. I don't remember when they got him. But they got, they made the trade. They, right with the Dodgers, didn't they? Is that how they got Miguel Vargas?
Yep.
Yeah. You got Bennett, you got Lou Bob right there. I gotta believe. Oh, hey, Kenny. I gotta believe that we did put him in our minor league system. I gotta believe Lou Bob is going to be one of those guys where if he's having a good year at the trading deadline, he'll go bye-bye.
Yeah, why not?
I gotta believe him, and I gotta believe Benintendi.
Benintendi's got a big, though, right? He signed a big boy contract.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a few years left on that. So, Lou Bob does too, right? But who's got more upside? Benintendi went there and crashed. Lou Bob can't stay healthy, but he might be the better player right now, right?
True. Yeah. I mean, I look. I mean, the scary thing is you traded away your best player. You're probably going to trade away your best player again if he's doing halfway decent. Actually, you know what? Blue Bob's not that bad, Dom. In 2020, he signed 6 years, $50 million contract extension.
I thought it was a bigger contract than that. So obviously I'm off there. But
Yeah.
No, Lubob was the first of the guys who got the big contract before they got called up. He started that trend.
Right.
So,
I mean, you're probably talking about, potentially, 50 wins?
30.
that's sad.
30.
I mean, you're talking about another time where you're going to have that stadium's going to be empty. Like, I mean, it's going to be easy to walk up and get really good seats if you decide I just want to go to a baseball game.
Do you see them getting to 50 wins though? I mean, they're worse than last year. Right?
They are, but I just I don't know, man. You would just think that. No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. Man, I don't know. 50 wins is pushing it.
I was going to say 30. I want them to beat the record, and they go down. I mean, man, I don't know what they're doing out there. I don't know what Reinsdorf is. This was a proud owner for a long time. They're not. I know it's a while. What is it? 2005 they won the World Series. It's not like that was 500 years ago. But
you want to know what Reinsdorf is doing? Reinsdorf is focused on moving them downtown Chicago into this sports complex type thing where there's going to be able to do shopping, all types of events in the arenas by moving them closer to where the Bulls play in downtown Chicago off the loop. So he has the whole thing that they're trying to do. Like last year, he took a meeting with Nashville, but never actually went to get the city of Chicago to kind of come to the table about this whole project.
See, again, here's the thing that just gets me is that if you are the city of Chicago, why do you want to invest that kind of money when it looks as though your owner could give two shits about his team?
That city's got bigger priorities to worry about too.
It's revenue. Like they've already got like a downtown casino trying to come down there. It's a whole big thing. Like Milwaukee did it in basketball, right? And so did the Warriors. Where there's this whole big complex where they can do everything. It's a one-stop shop when you come, from restaurants to shopping to apartments, luxury apartments. Then they can do all type of events in the stadium. So,
yeah, but that's fine. But those teams invested in their teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like all I'm saying, like the thing that gets me with any of these guys is it's Oakland, it's them. If once you get what you want,
right.
how does the switch go from cheap ass bastard to I'm spending? I don't know. What makes you? That's the thing that gets me from that standpoint. I mean, they obviously are not trying to win.
No.
I think any player that is having a decent year that they think that they could get something for, will be gone. They are hoping and praying for Lou Bob with that contract, which is by about 3 years. We're in 2025, so there's 2 years left in it. That they are hoping that he does well, and there's going to be somebody, let's say like the Mets, who come to them and say, "Hey, you know what? We'll give you Gilbert." Or we'll give you a Gilbert, or we'll throw another player in, and take a Robert. That's what they're hoping for.
Give him Marte. Don't give up Gilbert. Give him Marte.
And I taking Marte for
We'll
Lubov,
trick.
man.
We'll say Marte is the other Marte from.
It's Catil. It's not Sterling. Don't worry about it. This guy's unbelievable. But I'm just saying, I think that's what they're hoping for. That's what they got to be. They got to be hoping that one of those teams, the Yankees, who are the Yankees going to put out in center field? We'll find out in a little bit here. But they could be another team, that is looking and does something. But we spent enough team on a team that's the worst team in history of baseball.
They took over modern era. They have replaced our New York Mets as the worst team all time.
God bless America for that.
Right. That's why I wanted to open up the way I opened up.
Yep. Tampa Bay Rays. They add Kim Jansen, Eloy to a minor league deal. They get Fredo. I don't think they lose much. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. They're going to be playing what for the first? Is it the first 2 months or 3 months?
Probably the whole year.
Oh, you don't think they're going to? Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was supposed to be a. I didn't know it was supposed to be all year long for that stadium.
The whole year. Yeah, they're going to be a better stadium, field, whatever, the whole year.
Yeah. Well, I know it's worse than what people just thought it was the roof, but it actually wound up destroying a bunch, of inside. I don't know. I don't think there's much here to this team. Last year, 80 games. I mean, I don't necessarily know if they could do any better. It's going to be interesting. Baez now coming back, more of a full season. That's going to be interesting, interesting with him. I think McClanahan's McClanahan. He'll do what he does. They'll figure out ways to squeak out some games. But again, I think they're still, they're either the fourth or the fifth best team in that division. All depends on what the Blue Jays do.
I think for them, they were the anti-Yankees. They were the darlings, a little engine that kind of could. What the A's 15, 20 years ago were, what the Astros turned into was a lot of losing. I think the wheels have fallen off on this team now, right? They are in a conference where there's two giants. Right? I think I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they finished fourth, and I think the Red Sox are gonna finish last. But I think the wheels have off of that fairy tale coach now, right? It's just you can't just be wheeling and dealing and flipping. You need some sustainability. You got to put people in seats, right? They'll be lucky if they even sell out freaking this minor league stadium.
True.
Lucky is the key word for Tampa Bay because even when they're good, there's no expectations for them to be good. They just happen to, they're in the World Series again.
Right.
Huh.
I think the big thing with them was when if you really take a step back and you look, for a while there, every trade they made, they benefited from.
Big.
And I think you look at it now, the last couple of times when they've made those trades, when they traded a Rosarina, when they traded some of these other bigger name guys.
Look at Snell. What they get for him? Where are those guys now?
Yeah.
I actually don't remember at the moment, but
let me see.
Even trading parodies for Morel, and I love Morel. He'll get you 30 homers, but his defense is going to cost you.
So when they traded Snell in 2020, they got Francisco Mejia, Luis Patino, Blake Hunt and Cole Wilcox.
Who?
Exactly. Patino was supposed to be one of the guys. He hasn't done. He hasn't done anything. And Mejia, he was that catcher. That's why they got rid of him. I forgot who they had, but he was supposed to be the key. Mejia was the catcher. Patino was the pitcher. But nothing panned out. But I think that's what's happened to them. Some of the trades that they made. Now I don't know how much Wander has hurt them.
Well, with Caminero, I think it's a wash now.
True.
Unless he f's up, does something bad. Obviously it set him back a bit. But what were you going to do with this dude? What were you going to do with Caminero? Trade him or move him to another position? If the Pito hadn't gone down guns a-blazing. So
yeah. But I think they are, they're a 4th or 5th place team, best case scenario.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I think the fairy tale is over, and if that owner doesn't commit to investing in the team as much as he wants to invest in the development of a new stadium and this shopping type thing that the birthday boy John was talking about, it's cool what they want to build. But it's ridiculous that they're building it in the same area, right? It's not their fault that they're going to play in a minor league stadium. The Hurricane sucks, right? They got their butts kicked down there collectively, not just that stadium.
Yep.
They're no longer the darling anymore.
Yeah. Baltimore Orioles. They lost some stuff. They lose Burns. They lose Santander. They bring O'Neill. They sign a Japanese guy, Sugano. Sanchez. Morton, not a bad signing. Catwick's not a bad signing. Carlson and Laureano. I mean, again, you're looking at what? Your 4th and 5th outfielder. You're not really looking at a whole lot from that pick. I think the O'Neill is a good signing. They plug him in left field. Another team, young. I mean, you look at it. Richardson, Mountcastle, Holiday, Westberg, Henderson, Cowser.
Won Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah.
I had a vote. I would have voted for Wells, but Cowser had a better season than Gill and Austin Wells. He did it more consistently and at a higher pace. This team is sick. This is the new darlings. The is so I see they spent these Gary Sanchez ain't helping you win a World Series. I don't care what anybody says, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm surprised that I haven't seen McCann anywhere show up, but I mean, McCann was not he was at least a service. At least McCann was a guy you wouldn't mind putting behind the plate from a defensive perspective if you had to give Adelaide, a day off.
Yeah.
Gary Sanchez? I
mean, last year, serviceable because McCann wasn't serviceable in 2023. But so they get a new owner, right? Or they get a new ownership group, and the fans are all happy because they feel like they'll be able to retain a bunch of this group, and then I keep I watch like the Fuzzies and the Jolly Olives and they're reporting that the GM's been giving them the green light to spend money, and what they spend money on, Laureano and Carlson have small deals. Charlie Morton, they didn't sign him. It wasn't Flaherty or Burns money. What was the point of trading for him if you didn't at least were you expecting to go to the World Series and you've got it. You got to spend money, while you can. The opportunity now with a lot of these kids, right? You're talking Holiday, Westberg, Rushman, Cowser, right? Mullins is no joke. I'm a big fan of Mountcastle, but he has to get healthy. I thought that was going to be the Pete replacement, a trade for him, or I mean, he still might be because I think he's got a year left. They got to look who's behind him, the Hurstads and all these guys, Colvin Mayo, right? I think they missed the boat here, right? It's solid guys and more than these other guys that they brought in, but man, they could have, you lock up Burns and you could have, you traded, Burns for Charlie Morton. The opportunity was there for them to make a big impact, and they did not.
Dude, you could have brought in Saravino.
Flaherty.
But I think the thing that gets me is, here's the thing that gets me is why wouldn't you, knowing what you're paying Rushman, Holiday, Westberg, Henderson, Kauser, knowing what you're paying them, and that you probably are, because you brought them all up within that same 1 to 2 year period, right? At some point in time, about 4 years down the road, you're really going to have to spend to keep all of them. Why wouldn't you bring a Burns in on a 4-year deal, on a 3-year deal, give him a high, a good amount of money to be your anchor?
Right.
And I think a lot of free agents would love to come play because I don't necessarily love this outfield of O'Neill and Mullins. Right? I love Mullins for the team because he's a glue guy, but not from a production standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, Mullins had a little bit of a down year. 18 home runs, but only 54 RBIs. He hit 230. But I mean, I get what you're saying. You're right from that standpoint. But I think everybody thinks he was, oh my God, in 2023, and Mullins wasn't. Mullins hasn't really had that big type of year since 2021.
Right. Look at the production they lost with Santander.
Yeah, that's a big loss. That is a big loss. That's a guy you pencil in as your DH who's going to give you, he's going to give you good at bats. He's going to give you good power, good protection around some of these younger guys. So I don't know. This is one of those teams where if these young guys just go out, play up to their ability, they're going to be. I mean, they won 91 games last year. Now, it would be interesting that if they would have Burns for a full year of what they would have done. But you got to figure they'll probably be, close to that same number, give or take a few in one way or the other, based off of, each one of these guys should be a little better coming into this year.
We're talking about a team that the year prior won the division, won over 100 games with essentially the same group of guys. Eloy, honestly, Eloy wasn't swaying the, that was a midseason trade anyway, right? So he wasn't swaying, he wasn't there the year prior. Like there's the potential here.
Yeah.
Comeback player of the year, I think, is going to be either Bieber, DeGrom, or Rodriguez, right? I had picked Rodriguez and Jesus Luzardo to win Cy Youngs last year, and both of those got hurt and missed most of the season. So I was wrong there. Grayson Rodriguez is your number one guy. I don't know.
I just want, for me, I just wonder at, what do they do with all these young guys as we get more, and they still have more guys in the minors.
Yeah.
It's not like their minor league system sucks.
Right.
They still have Kobe Mayo, they still have Basilio, they got the Enrique Bradford is another good one. Honeycutt. I mean, they still have some good guys down there.
Where do you put Hierstead?
Hierstead. Like you would think at some point in time you figure out a way to take a couple of these parts and pieces and get yourself another starter.
Does Holiday start this season on the staff? And forget about 4 to 5 years from now. These guys, I'm sure some of these guys are Super Twos, right? Because they got a lot of pool money this past year went to
That's true.
players for playing. Obviously, Holiday, I don't know if they were manipulating his time. Like a kid who was obviously he got him to start with, but these kids once they start hitting arbitration, right? We have an owner now who the general public was led to believe was going to spend money on the team, but now this guy's coming in crying and saying, that Major League Baseball needs a cap, right? He's been on record. He said it in the public. It's not like, the Seattle GM, a couple of years ago got caught on tape saying, we manipulated Kellenek's time and this guy's time.
Yeah.
But was talking crap. Like this guy's out in the open in interviews saying we need a cap. So what do you do? What'd you buy the team for? Right. Knowing that, that you're it's not the Steinbrenner Yankees anymore, but they're there. And, I say they finished last, but the Sox are starting to spend money again.
True.
Yeah.
This team, I mean, I don't know. They could finish first. They could finish third.
Mullins and Mountcastle, I think, have a year or two, right? This might be Mullins' last year, and Mountcastle was, they can't be that far off. Right? I think they both got 2 years. So even if those guys leave, you can slot one of these guys in. You can't have 5 third basemen, right?
This is going to be year 5 for Mountcastle. Well, I'm not counting 2020. But this will be year 5 for Mountcastle.
And Mullins.
Mullins. I mean, Mullins came up in 2018 and played games, but this will be year 5 of him being a consistent over 120 game player.
So, they can get pushed out by the youth coming along. But
very true. Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, they made a bunch of moves. They added Santander, Hoffman, Garcia, Scherzer. I don't know about. I mean, Jimenez. They added bullpen help. With when Sandlin and Walker. They did lose Romano, but the big thing for them is
health.
Health is a big one, but then also Bo and Vladdy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do with those 2 players? It already sounds as though Bo has kind of let them know, hey, it don't matter what kind of contract you offer me, I'm not taking it. Vladdy gave him until February 18. February 18 came and went. He didn't sign. That's 2 massive parts of your team.
Currently, why I think they're going to be at the bottom of the division.
I don't disagree with you. And it's funny, their pitching staff is decent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their
outfield is suspect.
But the thing with Vladdy, he's come out and said, "Hey, I'm open to sign with 30 teams." Now nobody is going to at his level is going to go sign with the Marlins and the White Sox, but or with a team playing in the minor league stadium. I know he's from he's from the tropics, but who the hell wants to play in 120 minutes? Well, he's born in Canada, but who the hell wants to play in 120 degrees weather? It's a semi-dry heat out in Sacramento, but man, I think the talent is there for these guys to finish middle of the pack. There's another team that it could sway one way or the other if they're connecting. If they're, man, I don't think Jimenez is going to hit, but Springer, Santana, Bo, and Vladdy Jr. That's a formidable four.
True.
Davis Snyder's, was pretty solid. That's 4 to 5 guys. That's a scary lineup as long as everybody is performing. Right, both falling off. Vladdy had a great season, but he's a yo-yo too. It seems like, has a great year, has a bad year, has a great year, has a bad year.
Well, I think the thing that gets me with this team is the fact that the unknown of your top two players, Guerrero and Bichette. I mean, I just I don't know. To me again, I think that has to make you very nervous. If you're the owners of the Blue Jays.
Yeah, it's these guys are the faces. These are the who you put on the programs and stuff. Springer's not great player, but these the four kids, the Gurriel Jr., the Kevin Biggio, who obviously neither one of those guys are there anymore.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, I
can see them blowing it up. I can see him just quite frankly blowing it up.
They might not have
Maddie and Bo be gone.
Yeah, and the funny thing is what makes it. I don't know what Bo's contract situation is. I gotta believe he gotta be something like Vladdy, right? I mean, they came up at about the same time, so maybe Bo has 1 year left. Who knows? The thing about Vladimir Guerrero, what makes him so hard is that unless I'm mistaken, I don't think in baseball they will let them negotiate with a team that they could be traded to for a new contract if they're a free agent. So you really got to have faith that you're going to be able to re-sign him if you're going to give up a good haul.
Yeah.
And you think about it, who's going to be potentially willing to do that? Right now, I mean, I don't know how he feels about, let's say, playing for the Yankees, because there are some guys who are like, I'll never play for them. I hate them. And blah, blah,
He's
blah.
never playing for the Yankees. He's come out and said that.
Yeah, he did say recently, I'm open to 30 teams, but there's the racist mantra of the Yankees. Same thing with Griffey. He said he would never go there.
Right. So in reality, you're probably really only looking at the Mets in Boston that would be willing to give up a haul because they figure that if they could get him in there, that they could sign him. That they might overpay, right? A guy that they're willing to give what you consider to be, as much talent back as you can.
Yeah.
Because who else is going to do it? No AL Central team is going to do it. No American League West team is going to do it. Right? So there's two divisions that you're shot out of. Even, you look at the National League, I can't see any National Leagues. If it's National League Central, who's it going to be? It would have to be the Cubs.
Cardinals?
But the Cardinals, but are the Cardinals willing to give that kind of money?
Right. Texas, the Rangers might lay that money out. Right.
True.
The Astros might too, because that's how much they've shed. Right. So there is that possibility there. And then what do you give if you trade for him? What are you giving up? Right. Like why? Let's say anybody's starting first baseman goes down. Are you really going to give up for
prospects?
Right.
Well, again, I think if you're going to trade for him, knowing that you cannot negotiate with him, until he gets on your team, so you have to make the deal. You have to be a team that, in my opinion, you have to think you can re-sign him to give up a big haul.
You have to think you're going to win the World Series with him. It has to be
True.
hey, we're all in on this year.
They have no choice but to be like the Blue Jays now. This first half of the year, they have no choice. They stick around, right? If you're saying that Bo wasn't going to resign, at what point does he?
And maybe Bo's playing. I've just heard from the reports that I heard that Bo has kind of sort of already informed them that he really does not want to keep playing in Toronto in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's another guy.
Tough life. Think about this, right? So they get paid in American dollars, but every time home you've got to go through customs, right? They don't get a pass, right? It's not like I take the bus up from Philly or from Boston, or across town if I'm a Mets, the one a year we go, the one time we go out to Yankee Stadium, that can't be fun.
No, very true. Oh, very true. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. Boston Red Sox.
Last place.
You think so?
They're going for it.
I know they're going for it, but I think they're going to have. I'm rooting against them. Let me first and foremost say that they're one of two teams in professional sports that I really don't like. It's them and the New York Rangers, the hockey Rangers. I'm not a fan of the Astros either, but I don't know if all this is going to gel. Look at that. They've turned over, almost the entire lineup. There's a little bit of drama with Devers.
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't realize they were going to move Rafaela out to center field. Mm-hmm. I was wondering what they were going to do with with him. Bregman kind of kills, Vaughn Grissom. So Vaughn Grissom again, another young player. He's done. But then you look, they got what's his name? Oh crap! Who's the friggin'?
Well, you're relying on Trevor Story.
Yeah,
I guess
Story. I mean, Devers should go DH, but he won't.
He's a terrible third baseman.
Yeah. I did something on ESPN after his whole meltdown, and where he cost them 8 games going into the end of the year last year just with his defense.
Right.
So,
well, it's interesting because you look at that team, and don't forget, I mean, sitting in AAA, you have Roman Anthony, Marcel Mayer, and Christian Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just signed Bregman for 4 years?
3
years. He's not going anywhere. Devers isn't going to go anywhere. Story, if they could get, you have Story. That only opens up one spot. I mean, Durant's a good player. Rafael's a good player. Abreu's good. Again, you got 3 studs sitting there at the AAA level that are going, it's like, what are we going to do?
And Roman Anthony, I mean, I can see Roman Anthony coming in and taking over right field for Abreu.
Sure.
And that's about the only call-up you get.
Yep. And you got to figure they're probably looking also from a standpoint of is they're probably why they didn't go after, let's say, like they made the trade for Crochet and they didn't give up a crap ton. I mean, they gave up, but I think if you look at it, they really only gave up one guy really was that, right? But, so I can understand how they wouldn't go after Burns also. But you got to wonder when you look at that starting rotation. I mean, we're assuming Crochet's, one of the best pitchers in baseball because of what he did for 1 year.
Right,
that's what everybody keeps telling me.
But they also got Walker Buehler.
They did get Buehler, so another year further away from his injury, he could be better. Brian Baleo, who knows? Tanner Houck, I mean, we know what he is, and Cutter Crawford, you know what he is.
Mm-hmm.
They still can use another starter. Maybe they could use some of those minor league guys to try and get another top of the rotation starter.
Well, I mean,
It'd have to be somebody really good to give up Campbell or Anthony.
I understand that.
well, there are inning. I mean, that's what you bring in a Sandoval for, right? Assuming he still is going to be a starter, and there's still guys out there, right? If I'm a fan of Boston, I'm going, man. I'll take a year of Bueller, who is a top 10 pitcher when he's back in form. But why not? Why Flaherty, Corbin Burns, right? Like, did Corbin Burns, get overpaid? He's already got the one Cy Young, but
Yeah, this is a very interesting team. Chemistry could kill them.
that's what I'm saying, right?
If Devers and Bregman can't get along, it's not going to be good.
Do you move a perennial? What was their plan? Were they going to talk to Devers when they signed Bregman? What was the plan? What were you doing with a guy who signed for another 6 years?
You would have thought that would have been a conversation that they had when they started to go ahead. They started to talk to Bregman and everything. That they sat down with Raff and said, "Hey, what are you thinking here?" That and the other thing and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing, though, guys. You're the GM. You're the manager, and you bring in the cornerstone of your franchise. Say, "Hey, we're going to have a meeting. We want to bring in Alex Bregman. We want him to play third base. We want you to move a first base, or actually, we really rather have you DH." And he says, "I'm glad that is what you guys want, but screw you."
Mm-hmm.
So what do? You have him under contract for so long. Do you immediately throw him up on the block? Or do you just come up and say, "Hey, guess what? What's best for the team is this. If you're not going to be a team player, we'll try and move you. But up until then, you don't need to bring a glove to the stadium. Just bring your bat and your cleats."
I mean, I think it's going to be where they're going to have to try to pacify him. Then, hey, this is not working 20 games in. Like, we want to win. We're making this switch. We gave you a chance. It's not working. Let's put Bregman in third and then go from there.
Look, if I'm on that team, ego or not, right? Because I'm humble enough to say, hey, the stats don't lie. I'm the worst fielder in all of baseball right now. Endeavors, right? Like, I was rooting to bring in a guy like Bregman. Don't like him, and they overpaid for him, but he produces, right? Every single one of those guys that was on that cheating ass team has performed because they won the World Series again, right? So now you're in a bandbox compared to a pitcher's park, in Minute Maid. So, I would be rooting to bring this guy in.
And especially when you figure that guy is a dead pull hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Gold Glove player at his position too. Devers only has so much room to stand on. Do you want your $30 million a year or not? Whatever the hell he's getting paid. Like, this is what we're doing with you. You don't have a choice.
Raf Devers at third base has a 944 career fielding. That's horrible. 944 for his career. 944.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know what that number means. I know I've watched enough videos recently to know he's like the worst active player at his position. So
right, 944
number means.
What?
So that's what that number means. He's the word.
But most guys, you want to have the first two numbers to be 9998 at worst.
Okay.
Here's the problem with him. January 4th, 2023, he signed an 11-year extension.
That's a lot of money. What, like $30 million a year too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the number is, but 11. That contract runs through 2033. You have 9 years left on that contract. Where are you moving him? Where could you potentially move him to?
I don't know.
If you rate him, how many teams want to take that contract on? Knowing his skill set and that he outright bitched in public.
Mm-hmm. Huddle, Dom, I got an early morning, so I'm gonna have to head out. All right.
All right, man. Hey, thanks a lot.
Have a good show. So thank you for having me on.
Happy birthday.
We'll be here next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. All right. Dami, and that leaves us the crosstown rivals.
Yep.
So obviously they spent some money. They went ahead and they signed Fried, they signed Goldie. They made some trades for Williams and Bellinger. They kept Loaiza. They picked up Cruz from I think Cincinnati. They did lose, some players. The big one is, Juan Soto, Clay, Torres. I don't think Torres is to me, Torres is not a big loss because I think they moved, like they have here, they moved Jazz over to his more normal position. I think they're weak at third base. I'm surprised. I mean, I think they would try to figure out a way to improve third base. LeMayo I don't think he does, that. The outfield, I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not. I mean, you got Judge, Bellinger, and he's good and everything like that. Dominguez is the he's like the linchpin. You know what I'm saying? Out there.
Yeah, I am thinking honestly that this kid, there's been obviously, when I got back into really collecting was 2020 when I was able to get my hands on product. I was just watching videos and stuff like that. This was the big chase across the hobby. I'm rooting for the kid. I'm not actively rooting for the Yankees, but I listen to a lot of sports radio. I'm listening to their games if I'm in the car and there's no Mets game, right? I respect the franchise. I respect that, right? So I'm rooting for this kid. I'm not gonna lie, I got some cards of the kid. For a hundredth of what the cards were going for at the spike of this, right? And there kind of always is that in the collector. I know this is a little bit off what you're normally doing with the podcast, but there is this part of it.
Yep.
Your son's gotten me some really solid 10s and 9.5s of JDOM, the Martian. So it sounds like he's having a rough time out in the field, and this is supposed to be a 5-tool player, right? With power to hit the ball to, freaking New Jersey. But, with Mike Stanton, having to go back up north to get evaluated, that power, what he did last year is going to be hard to replace. You can slide in, Trent Grisham, who's won a Gold Glove, right? Who just, can't, it's like a baiter,
Yeah.
just they're really a fourth or fifth outfielder, and I'm hoping that J-Dom gets the chance, but Volpe has got to bounce back. I think the 1 year of Schmitty, if he gets hurt, this kid Ben Rice is the real deal, right? He's
True.
to be a catcher. I actually read a very cool article about this kid Escara. 29, broke camp with them, or no, hasn't broken camp yet, but this kid was hustling, was driving an Uber, was doing substitute teachers, like that kid on the Twins, the Dobnak guy.
Yeah.
Driving an Uber and stuff. So it was a really cool story. I read it on I want to say ESPN, and he's hoping to be in camp. I could be wrong about the Red Sox, but again, I'm actively rooting against them. And I had this conversation with you not too long ago that this was a top 3 pitching staff.
It most definitely is.
Well, I think I got that wrong, right? Because what we didn't factor in there was the Dodgers. Obviously, we're not talking about the National League. Rodon sucks. And there's been a lot of drama up here about Stroman.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that there's a guy who could turn a clubhouse.
Yeah. Well,
because let's face it, he already thinks people don't like him. But he has been that way his whole career. When he was with the Cubs, he was that way. When he was with the Mets, he was that way. And I understand it. That what is it? Height don't measure heart. That company that he has. I think he has won that. He has had that all year long. And I think sometimes it gets the better of him. And things don't work out, and that's why it gets moved. Because when you look at it, a guy like him, again, not that he has been super over the course of his career, but he's a guy that has, he's done. He's never been a super stud, but he's always been a guy who could keep you in games.
Yeah.
He's a bulldog. He was a worker. He would grind. And I just think, again, right now they want him to come out of the pen. And right now, I think he's kind of giving him the middle finger and saying, hell no.
He's saying no. Now, he's polarizing, right? He's a Long Island kid. We know that, right? I dated somebody who I'm still very close with. Their kid went to Pat Med, right?
Oh,
wow. Ridiculous. Because I had to drive Frankie I had to pass 2 elementary schools in order to. Literally, one was on our block in Patchogue, right on South Ocean when I lived with him. And so in the elementary school where Frankie was going to school was Stroman's jersey, right? So which was pretty cool. So I see that, and at that time, we're talking a while ago now, he's still on the Blue Jays. I'm a fan of him as a player, not so much as the polarizing. I don't want to say act. He's stubborn. You said he's a bulldog, right?
yeah.
So, up here, the talk is, I'm not moving to the bullpen. Well, what choice do you have, right? This is
right.
Your biggest kid, and you just go out there, in sandlot ball and just say, I'm pitching.
Right.
Work that way. It's not going to work that way with Devers either.
Right.
So
that's what I mean. But and the funny thing about Stroman, and I'm looking like now, and he's been in the major leagues since 2014. And the funny thing is this, He's only 87 and 85. That's his winning and losing. He's a 500 pitcher. He's an 8-8 guy every year.
Yeah, he's a serviceable guy. Now,
Well, he's a guy 30 starts, 27 starts, 25 starts, 30 starts, 31, 32 starts. He's a guy that he really doesn't get hurt for long periods of time. He may have an issue where he does where he gets a little dinged up or anything, but I mean, the guy goes ahead and he goes out there, he does pitch. I think he's a guy. I think, in my opinion, he thinks he's better than he is.
now, yeah,
I think he has that chip on his shoulder where he thinks he's a number one. And the truth is, Marcus, you're a 4 or a 5. And now, after what? As many years as he has been in the league, you're moving into that stage where you're 33 years old. You're a middle reliever.
yeah.
Spot starter, middle reliever. I mean, just your statistics show that. So he could affect this thing as the way it should be. Look, they did a great getting Cruz and getting Williams. That's really good things for that bullpen. If Wells continues, does what he do.
Mm-hmm.
What are they looking at and get out of Goldschmidt? I don't know. But if Goldschmidt is, let's say average, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're going to get from Jazz. Volpe has to have a better year.
Yeah.
LeMahieu, I don't know. LeMahieu is one of those guys where I really, he doesn't. It is batting average enough.
Well, it's not.
And last year he didn't even do that well in batting average. But then again, he only played 67 games. He was hurt last year.
Since he re-upped, he has not been the same player that was with Colorado and was with them to, with the year and a half or whatever that he was actually with them, right? So,
I mean, he really had one good year as a Yankee, a full season, 145 games in 2019. He hit 327. He hit 364 the next year, but that was the C19 year, and he only played 50 games.
Yeah.
Ever since that, it's 260, 260, 240, 200.
Right, and then look at his games. He hasn't. I don't think he's played a full season, since.
No.
With injury and then play, right? Because they had, at that time they were bouncing him around with with Gio Urshela coming up and Glaber Day when it was Glaber Day,
Yeah, I don't know. He they'll have to figure something out there, for sure. Because Cabrera, who was there last year, obviously, if they're considering him now as a utility guy, well, obviously they've lost faith in him.
Yeah, the kid, he did okay. The Peraza kid did okay when they put him at first base. When DJ was there. I mean, look, I'll take a year. What Goldschmidt's getting, what, 13, I think, 12 or 13 million.
Yeah.
Or I'll take it. I don't know that they're done either, right? There's still this Nolan Arenado stuff going on. Because St. Louis isn't. We'll get to the National League next week, but I don't. They're not. With where the Cubs are trying to go, I don't think they're gonna be competitive, and so they might not be done. And then we're not even talking about the kids here, right? Spencer Jones, who Yankee fans and sports cards collectors want to bounce back, and the other kid. Lombard Jr., there's some stuff down there. This is a really solid pitching staff.
Yep.
It really is. And, they overpaid for Fried, but, they got a closer now, right? They unfortunately tricked us into signing their closer. But, Garrett Cole's top 5, right? Stroman can't ever say with being on the same team. This is a dude that was on the same team as DeGrom, right? Oh, you weren't at any point in time. You weren't the number one. You might have been two. The the year. The second year is with the Mets, but
Well, I think what gets me with this is that, I mean, Stroman or Clark Schmidt as your 5. Is Stroman a bad number 5?
I think I'm taking. Honestly, I think Clark is probably the 4 because Gill fell off. I know he won Rookie of the Year, but he fell off the second half of the year.
True.
So with any one of those 3, let's just say, and I'm just throwing out my opinion on that. That's still not so bad. If he winds up being your 5, can he go? Can he go now? Right? He's not a kid. Can he go? The comment you made about him, because I just because I listen to so much New York sports radio, right? On an average team, on the team, and I'll say, I'll point to the Mets, right? With the thumbs down bullshit with Baez, right?
Yep.
And the fight between Lindor and McNeil. I know it's in the past, where that clubhouse could have been broken, and it didn't. And Lindor is a real leader, man. Stroman could disrupt an average locker room, but I don't think he does it with the Yankees, man, because Judge is just a mountain, right?
Yeah, I think with Judge and Cole
right.
and probably Stanton.
Yeah, and Stanton,
Yeah.
they've shown, I'm sure you've watched the John Boy videos where Stroman's, flipped out and then Judge just walked over and said, "Hey, we don't do that here." Like, man,
Right.
hell out of it, you know. And this is something I wanted to lead off with because the policy was illegal to begin with in New York. Kudos to the Yankees for finally letting players grow beards. I'm pro beard, obviously, so hopefully that loosens things up, because overall, I mean, look, at the I keep looking at the screen because the TV's bigger than my computer screen.
Yeah.
Signing Cookie to a minor league deal ain't so bad. I know he's not the Cookie of old, but really, realistically, this is the team to beat in the American League, right? When you have a Judge, yeah, they lost Soto, but their Soto could be Dominguez, who is potentially has the potential to be a better.
Well, it could. I mean, it could be Don't forget, it could be Bellinger. Bellinger's a left-handed hitter,
Yeah.
a left-handed power hitter, and at Yankee Stadium, those guys tend to have good years.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, and everything. This team is definitely, like, when you look at them, it's them, the Orioles, for the American League East. When you look at this pitching staff and the offense,
Mm-hmm.
it's what puts them above, I think, everybody else.
Yeah.
Now they got to gel, they got to, not have injuries, so that there are a bunch of other stuff. But when you look at it as a whole, like if you look in the American League, the only team that could compete starting pitching staff wise is Seattle.
Yeah. The Rangers and the Royals aren't that far off. The Royals are closer than the Rangers are.
But I think when you look at the depth that they have versus those other guys, I mean, they have, Rendon, for as bad as he was last year, he was 16-9. He did go ahead and, struck out over a guy in innings, struck out almost 200 batters. He had just a tick under 4 ERA. So, I mean, he wasn't great, but he wasn't like, oh my gosh, he sucks. So as a number 3, that's not a bad guy to have at number 3.
Right. I'm not a fan. I had the Mets. Honestly, I'm glad the Yankees signed him because I had a feeling the Mets were going to. And he hasn't been healthy either. He's missed, 2023, he missed half the season.
Yep.
He didn't pitch until I went to Yankee Stadium in August of 2023, and unfortunately had to freaking watch the Yankees, beat the Mets in the Bronx. But that was his season debut. That was it was July or August. So think about how far along that is.
Yep.
This team, yeah, they lost Soto, but you picked up two guys, batting wise that are, Goldie, might be downtrending, but you know what? He might he's now going into a real winning environment, and I think that will pick him back up. And Belly, he might be high as hell, but he still contributes, man. They're saying, addition by subtraction kind of thing. That's been the ongoing thing here.
Yep.
Fans like Infuego who are was going to be deported. Well, you punk ass, you weren't saying that when he was playing for you, so stop talking shit. So
Yeah, and I think the thing about when you look at Goldschmidt plays.
Yeah.
I mean, other than if you take the COVID year out, in 2014 he got hurt, but 2013, 160, 15, 159, 16, 158, 155, 158, 161, 158, 151, 154, 154. Goldie plays. And for as bad as people say he was last year, he still hit 22 home runs, drove in 65.
But that Cardinals as a whole sucked last year.
That's what I'm saying. Playing for the Cardinals, which they were not great last year, even though they finished second place. They overall were not great. I think it's a good deal for them. 1 year, put him at first base.
Yeah. Let him mentor, Ben Rice, because unless you're signing Alonso, who they could have already signed, right? If you don't sign Vladdy, you sign Alonso, then you have a cheap option in Ben Rice, because you look at this lineup, man. Bellinger's got a couple of years and he's making. There's a lot of money tied up into him. There's money tied up into Cole, Fried, and Rodon. Stroman's not making chump change. Judge is making a ton of money. I want to say
Judge is $40 million.
Right.
Cole is 36. Stanton is 32. Rendon was 28. Stroman was 18 last year.
Right. Bellinger's money is up there. Right. Jazz isn't that far away from hitting free agency. I know LeMahieu comes off the books.
Bellinger's 25.
For two more?
Let's see. Bellinger is 25 million this year, and then he has an opt out, but then he has a player option for next year at 22.
Right. Prior to the Yankees, I believe, are still under 300 million. Prior to the Mets signing that bum Winker and Alonso, the Yankees had the second highest payroll in baseball. So they're you guys gotta kind of take
projected 25 salary right now. Yankees are at 271.
Okay, I thought it was higher than that, but
Phillies are at 279. Mets 314. Dodgers 321.
Oh, I thought the Dodgers were like 4.
Well, don't forget. I think doesn't the deferred money or something like that affect that somehow? I think
it pushes his cap hit, so to speak, is like 41 instead of the 2. So, but because they just kept signing guys. It'll be interesting. I'm rooting for them because I want to see them beat Boston, and I listen to so many of their games. You know, because I don't watch. I'm going to do SNY this year. SNY has a plan now within MLB. It's I think $150 for the year, or 30 a month. So I'll watch a little bit more baseball.
Oh, that's good.
You know, I don't have anything. I just have internet and you know, and my smart TV. So, you know, but my commute home, depending on, you know, practice and whatever, you know, is 45 minutes, half hour. So I'm sitting for, you know, the modern game. I'm sitting for, you know, at least a third of the game listening. And if the Mets aren't playing, I'm listening to the Yankees. So, you know, I you know, I may not know as much about them as, you know, Graveworthy or Fuego, but I, you know, I'm listening. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, this is not only is this the team to beat, right, but this is the team to get to the World Series again. You know, I think J-Dom, you know, wins Rookie of the Year. Cole's going to be in contention for Cy Young. Judge is going to be in contention for, you know, for MVP. You know, when you think about it, you know, a healthy Goldschmidt between him, you know, Belly, Judge, Cole, as you know, maybe Fried. There's 4 or 5, you know, Yankees that make the All-Star team.
Oh yeah. They are a good team.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think the, you know, I think the Rangers, you know, the O's can make a run at them. Indians, you know, maybe the Royals, and you know, we'll see with the Red Sox. You know, I'm looking at those. You know, everybody they picked up. You know, I mean, you know, Aroldis Chapman doesn't scare me, but you know, who won that, right? Who, you know, I'll take Devin Williams over freaking Aroldis Chapman all day. You know, and they didn't get a lot to get him either. So,
True. You know what's amazing? Miami's projected payroll for 2025 is just over $47 million. For their team.
Juan Soto is making $4 million more than the entire team. How crazy is that?
Yep. And the Athletics are 55, just a hair over 55 million.
Oh, I thought they were up there. What are you using? Where are you looking?
Spot Track, SPOTRAC.com.
Yeah, I think I used them in with somebody else.
It does all the leagues. It does, it does baseball, basketball, WNBA, EPL, MLS. But it's crazy when you look at it. I mean, I really expected the White Sox to have a crappy, but the White Sox are you know, almost 60 million.
Well, you look at you got to, but I'd say almost half that money is tied up. Is tied up in two guys. Is tied up in Lubob and Benintendi, right? So
yeah, 17 million for Benintendi, 15 million for Lubob.
Yeah, so we're talking
32 million of it is in two players,
right? That's bonkers. That's bonkers. You know, and the the Mets paid more in penalty taxes last year than the Marlins, the A's, you know, White Sox. You know, it's crazy, man. It's that's bonkers. It's nuts. How do you you know, I stick with the, you know, what are you doing if you can't compete? You know, you could cry foul all you want, but if you're giving this money and you're getting top draft picks, you know, like the Pirates, you get a Skeens, like, all right, you have the opportunity, you have to capitalize. And we'll get to the, you know, next, you know, but like,
speaking of the Pirates are actually at 75 million.
and Key Brian Hayes is probably making a six of that, right? So just think about it. It's tied up into one player.
He's got $7 million.
Okay.
Reynolds is 12. Mitch Keller is 15. Mitch Keller will be traded.
Yeah. Which is a shame, right? It's
well, that's just it. I mean, they're only paying Skeens $800,000,
right.
and they have the other guy, Jared Jones, which they're paying $800,000. So you got to figure they got to figure out a way. Yeah, I didn't think they were that high either, Kenny. They got to figure out a way to sign. Well, that they got to sign Skeens. I don't know what they're going to do. We can talk about that next week,
Yep.
but that's
Yeah.
what that
You though, right?
you have to.
So, there's a lot that goes into it. It's bonkers that and obviously the Yankees they're not the belle of the ball anymore as far as payroll goes, and they're not the top spender, and I think they are rightfully so trying to be not frugal, right? But they're not trying to go crazy, and we'll get to this in a minute because you and I have differing opinions on the Mets payroll. We're obviously both really rooting for them to win, and we'll get into that. But it's crazy that at 271, how many teams can you fit into that payroll, right? So you could put the Marlins, you put the A's, you put the the Pirates and the White Sox. It's 4 teams.
Yep.
4 teams, but the Yankees draw. They have television money and they reinvest. You can't say that they don't reinvest. They have been doing it, they have been doing it since the 90s, right? And they may not have a ton of World Series wins on their books now, but they just made it last year, and they should be the odds-on favorite to get there this year. I don't, if it's a repeat, I think they're more balanced now to face the Dodgers, but
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I mean, Fried changes it, from a pitching standpoint. Again, that pushes Rodon down. I mean, it makes a big difference. Their closer was iffy last year. Now they got Devin Williams.
right.
Devin Williams, a lot of people, look what his last pitch was, the past. Yes, he was, but don't forget, he also was hurt for 60% of the season.
Right.
So from that standpoint. So I think I think you can, you can look at the American League and you literally can look at it and think, wow, other than the American League West, and just because Houston, lost some good players,
Yeah.
you really got to think Yankees, Orioles, they're probably going to battle 1 and 2 in the East.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, Kansas City, maybe even Detroit. They're going to battle for the Central. And then the West is really, you just know you have no clue. Because even with Seattle's pitching, right? If their offense craps out, it's going to be tough, right? And then you look at Texas with their offense. You look at Oakland with their offense and where they're going to be playing. As much as we want to, downplay and kind of be an embarrassment to MLB for him to play in a minor league baseball stadium, it could be a real benefit for them.
Yeah.
It could be a massive benefit for them, to be able to go out there and play in that park for 81 games.
81 games, and then and then everybody gets to play the White Sox, and everybody gets to go to Tampa Bay and play in another,
right, in another minor league thing. So, yeah, and so I mean, so from an American League West standpoint, I mean, it's the potential for them to do some damage is there. Now, I mean, again with them, pitching has to hold up. They need their pitchers to go ahead and perform well, and what we looked at, I mean, they don't have the, they don't have the, the greatest staff there. They have a good closer in Mason Miller.
Yeah. They're poised to do some damage. There's a lot of.
No, Kenny. Excuse me. No, Kenny. They're actually playing in Sacramento in a minor league in one of their own minor league teams stadiums, right?
No, I want to say it was the Padres. I don't think it's theirs.
Okay. No, they're going to be playing in Sacramento, where it gets to be 120 friggin' degrees in June and July.
Brutal.
And they're going to be playing there. So, hey, I hope there's a lot of things that happen out there. Are the concession stands ready to go ahead and handle, a full ballpark every game?
Yeah.
From that standpoint, and there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of people that I think are going to want to go. They're going to, I mean, you know what? I wonder, let me see, where
This is
will the
a brand new stadium that they're going into. The team that was supposed to is actually going back to their old stadium, right? To let the A's play there. So,
they're going to be playing in Sutter Health Park. That's the name of the stadium. Wowzers.
So funny enough, the guy who owns this team owns the, because a lot of the minor league teams now are not within their there's contracts and stuff, but like the Mets sold off all their minor league teams. The dude who owns this this team owns the Sacramento Kings, right? It was actually made a bid to go try to buy the A's, and then lost out to this clown that owns the team now. So, so it's interesting that he's helping them out.
So the permanent seating is 10,624. If you add the lawn or what they call the berm seating, they could do maximum capacity is 14,014.
Well, that's more than they were getting anyway. So are the people in Oakland though? You got to cross a bridge to get up there.
No, they're not. They're not going to go. I mean, you got to figure that. I mean, now what's pretty cool is that the minor league team is still playing there.
Oh, I thought they moved back to their old team, so I got that wrong.
I was just reading about it because they have the River Cats, and it says that the Sacramento River Cats, they will play there. That they'll play, which is interesting because the River Cats are an affiliate of the San Francisco Giants.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was Padres, but yeah, that's interesting. Because that field's going to get the crap kicked out of it, and I don't know if that Vegas stadium is going to be ready in 3 years. So it might be more than 3 years. Why not just go back to it? Again, the city of Oakland was charging a lot of money, and there was some caveats to it. It's $25 million a year. And then, they had to be promised first dibs at a franchise. I'm now watching YouTubers videos. Like I don't, know that I read anything in writing that said that, but, it really, I was on my rant. It's just, it's bull crap. It's bull crap that they were allowed to do this. They should have been able to do this. So
yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. But look, hey, it is what it is. I mean, they
yeah.
I mean, look at it this way. I mean, the only I guess from a fan perspective, and I don't know how many, if you want to call them diehards there are anymore when you figure, because, when you look at the attendance that was at those games, um, I think at least you have some people who probably would have want to go see them play, that would not go because they didn't want to travel all the way to Oakland where the stadium was.
Mhm.
I think at least I don't know how much MLB had to do with it, but at least you kind of sort of got to give the A's a little bit of credit of at least staying in the same area.
But it specifically, they did that specifically to retain the television rights, right? Because Utah was courting them and had a and it might be the Utah team was that was going to stay in there. I might be crossing up the River Cats with the Utah team. There's a stadium in Utah that holds more than what the River Cats was. There's this dude called the Touchback. He's he lives in Oakland or wherever, and I just happen to find his channel. He talks about rugby union and rugby league. Not I play union, but so he's made some pretty cool videos about it. It's fair up until the end of the video where he's like, this is bullcrap, right? He just kind of gives all the facts. So Fresh Ginger is another one on YouTube, right? That does all these like stadium things. So if they went to Utah, they basically would be breaching their contract, and it would be null and void, right? MLB would pick up and transmit the games, like they had to do with all these with all these other teams. But it's I understand trying to do better, but that owner, this came out of nowhere, right? So this was something that was planned all along. It's dishonesty. If the Mets got moved, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, I hope.
Well,
But
yeah, I think any team is like that. I mean, if I was a Hartford Whalers fan, I would have been pissed off. If I would, if I was, a Colorado Rockies hockey fan, I would have been pissed off when they moved to New Jersey and stuff. I mean, I agree. But I don't know. Maybe, wait, I understand. The money is the issue of the stadium piece, and I understand it's expensive and all the other kind of stuff. But I think what's happening is they're trying to build what they think is the next great,
hmm?
for lack of better words, event center.
Yes, yeah,
And stuff like that. And I mean, there's talk about the Mets are going to try and do the exact same thing.
they're starting to do that now, right?
And but they're talking about expanding the stadium, the baseball stadium, maybe have 100,000.
Oh, for the Mets or the A's?
No, the Mets.
Oh, okay.
But
There's a lot of building going on over there now.
but what I'm saying though is that the the problem that you have is where this issue is and the owners have caused this themselves by these crazy ass contracts. And now they need stadiums that are actually, a little bigger.
Yeah.
And I just, we wanted a little cozy stadium, 30,000 people and stuff like that. Yeah, but when you're paying guys freaking 600, 700, 500 million dollars a year, if you're going to have that few seats,
Right.
you have to crank the price up, which takes a whole segment of the population out.
Yes. Yeah. I
You
mean,
honestly, I'm glad. The only good thing about living where I live is that I get the MLB, the MLB network, the MLB package, and I know I could watch, more Met games than if I, was still
Then I,
living on
yeah,
Long Island.
than I could last year without having cable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the food and beverage part of the game, man. I have I don't want to say a trick. I have a little bit of a hack, right? I'll go to the stadium the day of, and and I'll go on a SeatGeek or a StubHub or whatever, half an hour before. I know I'm getting into the stadium one way or another.
Right.
Unless it's Mets Yankees, and I went to the second game this year. I got home stupid late because of the rain delay. And I went with one of my close friends and her kids, and I had to be quiet because I was the only Mets fan there. Now I was trying to be respectful because I had gotten into a fight with it was one of my most recent exes, and we got into a fight because I met her there, and I was trying to get her to park somewhere so we can get out of the place, at a real time, and I shouldn't have did it because it was in front of the kids, but so I just kind of went off on my own for a bit, and I had I think I had a friend there, so I met the friend, just to say hello, and then I was quietly like, yeah, we and they kicked the Yankees' ass that game.
Yep.
14-9 or 7 or 5, whatever it was, but yeah, I mean, dude, so I can get, when I do that, I get tickets at a reasonable price, and I say reasonable because, parking is $40.
Yeah.
Beer is $18. My mom got me a actual Mets gift card for my birthday. And I lost it. So there was a lot of money, and I lost it for the first game. But I went to like 4 more games, including a playoff game. So I ate. I have my beer. If I take the train, and I'll have a couple beers, but I have my, and because that's all I really want to spend, $18. I mean, I drink craft beer, and I'm getting $13. I'm getting a 6-pack. I'm buying one Tall Boy. F that, there's a cool little vegan nacho place in the back corner. I get that when I go there, and and that's $16-18 for this little tray.
It ain't cheap. It ain't that easy to go to games anymore. It's not cheap no matter where you go ahead and go. I mean, the SeatGeek, those types of things, those things they've been a benefit, like your point. You sit out there, you drive to the stadium, you get there an hour before the game starts and everything, and you can just scan on those things, and just wait for somebody and wait, for somebody who's going to sit there and go, crap, 15 minutes before game time, I might as well sell my tickets. I'm not going, bang. And you can get, seats rather than if you would have walk up to a window and try and get that same seat, you'd pay out the ass.
Here's one of the cool things. I'll share this quick story, and then obviously we can't talk till 5 in the morning, but
very true.
2 years ago, I was up in Pelham on a Sunday. I had coached rugby, drove up to Pelham, and I'm like, oh crap, there's a game. There's a game today, right? And it was against the Guardians. I had gone Friday night, birthday present. My ex, we'd already broken up. This is when I went to the Mets game with this year. She said pick a game, and so I picked a game, and with the and she bought me 2 tickets, and I knew I was going to take her all along. So we went Friday night, and I specifically the Guardians because I want to see Jimenez play, right? So and I'm going to be going to probably not opening day, but I'll probably go that Sunday because they're hosting Toronto, and I want to root for Jimenez, one game, and it'll be much cheaper. There'll be a lot less traffic because it'll still be a little bit cold, and I'll be up in the area, I think, anyway, for youth rugby. So I drove down this one. So that Sunday, I drive down, and I'm stuck in traffic on bleeping. Where was I coming from? Cross Island, right? And stuck in traffic that standstill. So I buy a seat, and I have a crappy phone that had gotten wet, and it reset itself. And I turned it off, and all of a sudden, I buy a really good seat. I'm like 10 rows behind the Mets dugout. Right?
Oh, wow.
Field for like $50, $60, whatever it was. And, no big deal. I think I used somebody's code, Diamond or somebody, or Frigo or Adrian. So I used somebody's code, and my phone dies. So I have to go up to the booth. And so I had done this the year prior. I went to the second last game in 2022. And I think I fell asleep in my car before the game, so I missed out on the tickets. Right, I went up to the booth, and I went up to the booth, and they were still giving out. Were they giving out paper tickets? I can't remember. And I'm like, oh, the app doesn't work, so this happens, sort of twice. Crappy phone, I have a better phone now. So I do that in 2022, second to last game, and I sit. Incidentally, right? It's like, well, what's your price range? I'm like, $50, right? And I sit 3 rows away from the booth, from the SNY booth, and I was like in awe. I think I spent just as much time because I lost that game, and I'd given Conforto a standing O. And I think there was another game, but they'd still given him kind of, and I'm cheering because I'm a fan of the dude. I hope he does well in the Dodgers. But so I'm three rows away, and I keep looking at the booth. I'm like, wow, it's freaking. There's one of my all-time favorite players, and I don't like Keith. I love Ron Darling. So, so when I do this and my phone dies, I went up sitting in the outfield, and I had pretty damn good seats for $50. So it's not so bad. It's a lot of money. But I work basically 2 full-time jobs, and I ref on the weekends. I was reffing at that time, so I don't want to say I have disposable income, and I'm not rich trust me, by any means. But you know what? That's my happy place.
Yeah.
Right. And I went by myself, just so I could get there. I could just walk around when I want, sit down when I want. I want to take a nap that day while the game was going on, but. Because I was up, I had played the day before, drove a freaking an hour and a half to Pelham, to be there at 9 a.m, and and had fun. So I can do that. I will go to a game by myself. Last year I ate off of the gift card, and I still have money on the gift card, right? Like if I didn't, whatever, that's my happy place, man. Some people go to like Hawaii and stuff. I'm sure it's fun. I haven't been. I'll get there eventually. But that's City Field, Shea. Those are my happy places.
I agree.
Just get lost and watch some baseball, man.
Yeah, Mike and I got to get up there to City Field.
Yeah. We'll you get up work. I'll get you guys to a game.
Trying to figure out how. So.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man.
Yeah.
We've been going almost 3 hours. It was great. I can't wait till next week.
Yeah.
National League. You
Yeah.
know what team? And just so in case anybody's still hearing like this, you hear the way Dom and I are talking, you know what team we're doing last.
we have differing opinions, right?
We do have differing opinions, but we're going to talk about that team last.
Yeah. I want conservative because that's the bull crap that we got put through last year, right? With trading away the pitchers, and then we're not going for it, or this year, right? Where they could have invested money. Could have did that this year, and we could have been a stronger team.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
All
right, Dommy. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yeah, man.
See you guys later. Thanks for everybody for hanging out.